Are there any questions? You were slightly first, yeah.
I actually have just a quick addition to what Sean presented. Seeded KNN, so lexically accelerated KNN search is coming to Solar 10 as well. So the Routine implementation will be ported to Solar 10, which is going to be released in more or less. So it's going to be available there.
Just a question on the re-ranking approach. So how do you deal with the filtering that might be alongside semantic search? So if I'm searching for the budget and I have filters of today and articles that I'm allowed to see, how do you incorporate those filters into the discovery part of your re-ranker?
I'm an academic. No. So this is the traditional challenge with any sort of filtering when you use these kind of like graph-based approaches, right? You either have to explore all the graph and then do the filtering at the end, or you need to filter as you go. And this depends on how specific the filter is, right? If the filter is eliminating most of the edges in the graph, or sorry, if the filter eliminates most of the documents in the entire collection, you can just re-rank that sub-collection in its entirety.
I think it was the step outside of, if you're re-ranking, then you're re-ranking documents that are presumed to have been fed through that pipeline of filter and semantic. But if you step outside of that and say, well, I'm going to be incorporating new discoveries that are adjacent to the ones that came out of the other ranker, the initial ranker, then you then have that responsibility of.
Yes. So there's two options that you can do there, right? One is to filter the linked documents as they come in, so never score those at all, right? That risks maybe not being able to explore anything, right? If none of the neighboring documents match the filter. You could also score those and use them to help you navigate you to other relevant documents. But if enough of the collection is gone, it won't take you anywhere. Right. So yeah, that's all to say. It hasn't been super explored yet. But the same strategies that work for HNSW kind of work for this as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah. For the re-ranker, like the first part where like the re-ranker goes back to the data store. Is it something like it's similar to HNSW graph? Does that mean could potentially reuse the HNSW graph, or does it have to be a separate data structure that is similar?
Yeah, so it can use the HNSW graph. That's how it's implemented in okay.
Questions? Yeah.
So this sort of re-ranking, if we get a bunch of similar documents, right, for the sort of RAG-based systems, I can imagine this sometimes not being as good as we would hope it to be. So for example, if I ask, well, give me a list of all the world leaders, right? And the one of the articles is about the USA, and all the things near it may be other articles about the USA, right? So it expands in that way. And I'm wondering if there's some difference in the constraints we want for the retrievers and the ranking in RAG versus the retrievers and the ranking we want for humans in some way, right? Because we also do different types of queries, right? I wouldn't search for that sort of list me stuff in a regular search engine. And I was wondering, what you've been thinking about, and also what you found in making these sorts of RAG systems in the wild. You found anything about like different parameters that you need for the retrievers, etc.?
Yeah, so there is a bit of a trade-off between exploration and exploitation.
Yes.
Right. And we had a paper at ECIR this year. No, sorry, at CIR this year that tried to balance that and model that trade-off a bit more directly. It gets kind of complicated kind of quickly in a way that it's not just like, oh, look at the neighbors and explore, right? Once you have to start to make predictions about the utility of each of the neighbors and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of the issue of diversity and the value of the neighbors and edges and stuff. Yeah, that's far from a solved problem, I would say.
What's the name of the
For us, it's more complex in the sense that customers usually don't allow us to see the documents, so they just tell us it's not good, but then we cannot optimize it. So
I I work at Microsoft, so I have the same problem.
Thinking about the RAG system that you're talking about and the information that came out of your presentation, Andy, and I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, Stefan, this morning earlier before lunch. Do you think that the re-ranking, or what do you think the implications are for sort of the everyday user of re-ranking, or on re-rank, or on searching for everyday users? Sorry, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think searchers' expectations about what the quality of the search results are probably increasing over time. I guess I haven't actually seen a study on this, but it seems like people's expectations are getting higher, especially with generative AI and stuff. So I think it's becoming even more important than it's ever been to kind of surface kinds of documents to the users, and re-ranking is one way to accomplish that. It comes at a cost, right? A computational cost, environmental cost, etc. But these are also costs that, you know, you've seen with tools like ChatGPT. People are willing to wait longer to get better results. So, yeah, I think the two trade-offs there are you know, trading off time latency for quality.
I have a question about the agentic AI kind of workflow in Datafari. Can you tell us a bit more about kind of what that is or what you're envisioning? I'm just having a hard time kind of envisioning it in the context of like search.
Oh yeah, well, search is more for when customers have more complex scenarios than search. Actually, it's more for generation of text. So the only scenario we could get from the city of Antibes was when they want to do a new call for tender or new tender. How do you say it? A new call for RFQ?
Tendering process.
Yeah, tendering process. They want to ask questions like, I want recommendations or a template based on the last 5 tenders in the same area about the penalties, the deadlines, the content of the catering stuff. And so this is where just monohop does not work, because you need to have a first retrieval phase to look for the existing tenders. Then you need to open only out of all the documents the ones which are technical, which means which contain this information. Then you need to wrap it up. So ask again another step. So that's the type of scenarios that must be optimized. So it must be. This is where agentic is useful, because you can easily combine the systems and you can give more or less freedom to the AI. Because the ideal world with AI, with agentic AI, is that you just give him 1,000 tools and you say, okay, just do whatever you want and something good at the end. It does not really work this way. So the more narrow you can be in terms of the tools you can you allow the AI to use, and the more deterministic you can be, the best. But the framework is rather flexible. So that's why we say we do it ad hoc. So it's really based on what the customer asks, and we do part of it deterministic, and another part we leave the AI decide on the tools it wants to use.
More questions? I mean,
To follow up that question, how do you define an agent in your system?
An agent is yeah. So I will not use, so the could use workflow, but it's a process, so which can be deterministic or non-deterministic, where the AI is somehow in control, okay, and achieves a set of actions, and where a human may be involved in the middle, the human in the loop, to validate stuff like validating when you want to buy a ticket or this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's rather broad. But this is what we mean, at least here. So agentic AI, in a sense that there are functionalities that the AI is allowed to use by itself, and how much freedom we want to give it. It's a workflow. Should not use the workflow.
other questions? We have two more minutes. There, yeah.
Am I the only person who finds it confusing to have a separate input box for queries and for prompts? And then when we get into the agentic world, is there going to be a third input mode?
We decide, so some people put do call the LLMs directly in the search box. We decided not to do it because I was mentioning pollution, and we tried to be a bit carbon footprint aware. So we wanted this to be really a user voluntary action to call the AI. I know people don't care anymore, but it was a decision, ergonomy decision from us. So if you want to do search, you use the low carbon footprint BM25 stuff, and really aware that you're doing something with the chatbot. But of course, it's just a matter of ergonomy. So it will be, that's what I'm saying. I mean, whenever I do the demos to people, they say, oh, it's so small, the chatbot, can it be the whole stuff and the search somewhere here? But for now, we resist. But yeah, I was mentioning assistant UI, so most probably now we lose the war, and it will be the chatbot, big stuff, whether it's agent or not, it depends.
Any other question? Or I start? I have a question. Since Search Solutions is a conference that kind of brings together academia and industry, right? So, question to you both. So do you think, for instance, if you heard about adaptive re-ranking, is that something that you could build into Data Fairy and to you? Since I think your experiments are basically on textual documents, I guess, yeah. And in enterprise search scenario, of course, we've got different heterogeneous documents. So could he use that on a completely heterogeneous collection of documents? Or to both, whoever wants.
Yeah, so yeah, basically, if you can establish some links, something that we call in literature a bit document affinity, right? If you think that this document is good, you should also check this document, right? This could be a hyperlink, this could be anything, right? It could be similarity between images, it could be similarity between text. And like if you can establish that, you could kind of build up this document affinity corpus graph.
Yeah, I guess this goes back to the filtering part as well. So,
Yeah.
continuous filter, but yeah, now my side, when I was watching your presentation, it was, oh man, another functionality to implement. Because yeah, that's when you're a product maker, so it's not a matter of just adding something, it's to maintain it up. And what happens if you disappear in 1 year? You say, okay, I forgot whole life in Japan. I mean, we had a partner.
Kind of disappearing.
No, but we decided the partner she said, okay, I have good news. I'm going to become a yoga teacher in Japan. So okay. Yeah.
Not under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah. But so yeah, it's always a matter of evaluating whether there is too much risk to add that to the stack, and also to estimate. And that's the same issue with large open source projects. Actually, when you have committers, it's like, do we take that into the main branch, or do we leave it as a contribution because maybe this guy will disappear? You don't know. So yeah. So but yes, I was looking at it because obviously it looks very interesting. So I was looking at yet again another round of discussion with my colleagues as well.
At least there's no risk of Sean becoming a yoga teacher in Japan. As far as I know.
You never know.
You're surprised to me.